It is All Hallows Eve, and shortly thereafter on Monday will be All Souls Day. This is an important week for the Church, where you can do incredible works of mercy for the recently and long since departed. I'm going to go over some details about All Souls Day and ask that you consider keeping this feast, keeping this week of prayer by praying for the souls of the departed. It is some of the best work you can do as a Catholic for the spiritual works of mercy. From the Roman Martyrology. On this day is observed the commemoration of the faithful departed, in which our common and pious Mother the Church, immediately after having endeavored to celebrate by worthy praise all her children who already rejoice in heaven, strives to aid by her powerful intercession with Christ, her Lord and Spouse, all those who still groan in purgatory, so that they may join as soon as possible the inhabitants of the heavenly city. Here's a fact for you. Every priest is permitted to say 3 Masses on this day, and it would be a good practice for the laity to attend 3 Masses and offer them for the poor souls. There are indulgences attached to this commemoration. An indulgence applicable only to the souls in purgatory is granted to the faithful who devoutly visit a cemetery and pray, even if only mentally, for the departed. The indulgence is plenary each day from the 1st to the 8th of November. On other days of the year, it is partial, meaning you can do this at any time for a partial indulgence. But from the 8th, or from the 1st of November through the 8th, it is a full indulgence. Typical restrictions apply, of course. A plenary indulgence, applicable only to the souls in purgatory, is granted to the faithful, who on the day dedicated to the commemoration of all faithful departed, November 2nd, which is Monday in 2020, as well as on the Sunday preceding or following, and on All Saints' Day itself, piously visit a church. In visiting the church, it is required that one Our Father and the Creed be recited. To acquire a plenary indulgence, it is necessary also to fulfill the following 3 conditions: sacramental confession, Eucharistic communion, and prayer for the intention of the Holy Father. Now, I know some of you will not like the prayers for the Holy Father. At the end, I'm going to go over what the traditional intentions are for the Holy Father, because there are traditional intentions attached to the office of the Pope, and they never change. We'll go over that here at the end. The 3 conditions may be fulfilled several days before or after the performance of the visits. It is, however, fitting that communion be received and the prayer for the intention of the Holy Father be said on the same day as the visit. The condition of praying for the intention of the Holy Father is fully satisfied by reciting 1 Our Father and 1 Hail Mary. A plenary indulgence can be acquired only once in the course of the day. On All Souls' Day, the Church, after rejoicing yesterday with those of her children who have entered the glory of heaven, on All Souls' Day prays for all those who, in the purifying suffering of the purgatory, await the day when they will be joined to the company of saints. At no place in the Divine Liturgy is stated in more striking fashion the mysterious union between the Church triumphant, the Church militant, and the Church suffering. At no time is there accomplished in clearer fashion the twofold duty of charity and justice deriving for every Christian from the fact of his incorporation into the mystical body of Christ via baptism. By virtue of the consoling doctrine of the communion of saints, the merits and prayers of each one are able to help all, and the Church is able to join her prayer with that of the saints in heaven, and supply what is wanting to the souls in purgatory by means of the Mass, indulgences, and the alms and sacrifices of her children. The celebration of Mass, the sacrifice of Calvary continued on our altars, has ever been for the Church the principal means of fulfilling towards the dead the great commandment of charity. Praying for the souls of the dearly departed is an act of charity, and an incredible one, for those in purgatory will remember your prayers for them. Masses for the dead are found going back to the 5th century, but it was St. Odilo, 4th Abbot of Cluny, who was responsible for the institution of the general commemoration of all the faithful departed. He instituted it and fixed its celebration on November 2nd, the day after All Saints. The practice has then spread to the rest of Christendom. And actually, there's even some evidence that there were prayers for the dead going back to the 1st century through some graffiti found in the tombs of where St. Peter's bones and St. Paul's bones would later be found. Daily in a special memento in the canon of the Mass, at which the priest remembers all those who have fallen asleep in the Lord, the priest implores God to grant them a place of happiness, light, and peace. Thus, there is no Mass in which the Church does not pray for the faithful departed. But today her thoughts are directed towards them in a particular fashion, with the maternal preoccupation of leaving no soul in purgatory without spiritual aid and a grouping of them all together in her intercession. By a privilege that Benedict XV's decree has extended to the whole world, every priest can today celebrate 3 Masses. Usually they require permission for that. For the liberation of the souls in purgatory, the Church multiplies the offering of the sacrifice of Christ, from which she draws forever on behalf of all of her children, infinite fruits of redemption. So here are some things you can do. 1. Add some pious practices to help the souls in purgatory. You can attend 3 Masses for the faithful departed on that day. Remember your family and friends who are deceased and make an extra sacrifice for them. Pray the rosary for the most forgotten soul in purgatory. And to this, you can also remember what I've been saying on my live streams lately. There are public figures in the Church who passed away and died reconciled to the Church, having received all the sacraments, making a good confession at their deathbed, after living a life in the public eye that may not have been the most exemplary of Christian virtue, and they probably don't have people saying Masses for them. This would be an excellent time for you to do that. Second, an indulgence applicable only to the souls in purgatory is granted to the faithful who devoutly visit a cemetery and pray, again, even if only mentally for the departed. It's in a plenary indulgence each day from November 1st to the 8th. On other days of the year, it is only a partial indulgence. But you can do this, again, any time of year for a partial indulgence. The plenary indulgence is earned under the usual conditions. You got to go to sacramental confession within 20 days, 1 Eucharistic communion for each visit within 20 days, and a prayer for the Pope's intentions, usually 1 Our Father and Hail Mary prayed during each visit, while detached from sin. 3. There is a solemn commemoration from the Book of Blessings that can be used on all souls. 4. Make a poster listing all of your departed family and friends. Put this on display where the members of the family can be reminded to pray for the loved ones throughout November. Remind family members to offer extra prayers and sacrifices for the souls in purgatory. Of course, this shouldn't be the only motivation, but do include the fact that these souls, each in heaven, they will intercede on your behalf. 5. Something to remember. The Christian who must be conscious of and familiar with the idea of death cannot interiorly accept the phenomenon of the intolerance of the dead, which deprives the dead of all acceptance in the city of living. Neither can he refuse to acknowledge the signs of death, especially when intolerance and rejection encourage a flight from reality or a materialist cosmology, devoid of hope and alien to belief in death and the resurrection of Christ. In other words, our culture tries to keep our eyes away from death as much as possible, even when we glorify it in our popular culture. It tries to make it not seem real, and our medical science is trying to get us to live forever. Memento Mori. It is something that we must think about and must be cognizant of. And there's no more cognizant way, or no better way of being cognizant of this than looking to the cross and seeing the corpus on that cross. Remember your death. Finally, you should probably have family discussions about death, honestly. Preparing for death, funerals, and the sacrament of the sick. Visit the cemetery with your children. Visit the cemetery can actually be uplifting. It can be calm and peaceful, and not actually a scary event. Although maybe not do it after dark. It is worth noting here that in many places, this day of observance centers around the family departed in the cemetery. And that's meet and just, right? It's totally licit to focus on your own family. Families go to grave sites, clean them, decorate them, they add candles. This can be an all-day affair with picnics and celebration. Think of this as getting past all the things besieging the bark of Peter right now, all the nastiness in the church, that the church will triumph over this, and we know that she will. 2, the propagation of the faith. Again, this is the spread of the gospel. That is something that is a traditional intention of the Pope. 3, the extirpation of heresy. Again, the ending of errors. The ending of errors and the propagation of the truth of the faith. 4, the conversion of sinners. Pretty self-explanatory. 5, the concord between Christian princes. Think of this as peace between Christian nations. And 6, the further welfare of Christian people. Those are your traditional intentions for the Holy Father. So you could pray those when you keep this observance from November 1st through November 8th and at all times of year. Because also remember, if you end your rosary by saying, for the intentions of the Holy Father, and then you do your Our Father and your 3 Hail Marys, you can also just have it be these instead of the contemporary ones. Although maybe you should check those too, because once in a while there's something non-controversial in the monthly intentions. I hope you found this helpful. And thank you for listening, and have a blessed AllHallowtide. Think of this as getting past all the things besieging the bark of Peter right now, all the nastiness in the church, that the church will triumph over this, and we know that she will. 2, the propagation of the faith. Again, this is the spread of the gospel. That is something that is a traditional intention of the Pope. 3, the extirpation of heresy. Again, the ending of errors. The ending of errors and the propagation of the truth of the faith. 4, the conversion of sinners. Pretty self-explanatory. 5, the concord between Christian princes. Think of this as peace between Christian nations. And 6, the further welfare of Christian people. Those are your traditional intentions for the Holy Father. So you could pray those when you keep this observance from November 1st through November 8th and at all times of year. Because also remember, if you end your rosary by saying, for the intentions of the Holy Father, and then you do your Our Father and your 3 Hail Marys, you can also just have it be these instead of the contemporary ones. Although maybe you should check those too, because once in a while there's something non-controversial in the monthly intentions. I hope you found this helpful, and thank you for listening, and have a blessed AllHallowtide.